chocolate stores, cuckoo clocks, and the picture-perfect Matterhorn. That's what comes to mind when one hears the term Switzerland. Beyond these well-known postcards, though, is an other Switzerland, one in which the sound of stillness prevails over the clicking of cameras, where time stands still around historic towns, and where nature is allowed to unfurl in all its pristine glory. Hidden valleys and mountainside communities, paths devoid of footprints, and lakes reflecting more stars than tourists. This is the Switzerland that most visitors never get to see. Step away from the madding masses and into the heart of the Swiss Alps on this hidden Switzerland adventure. Many visitors have been to these mountains throughout the years, some in search of excitement and others of peace and quiet. However, the vast majority of these visitors stick to the same old routes, taking pictures and retelling the same tales. However, genuine Switzerland isn't that forthcoming. This is the hidden history of Switzerland, a tale of untamed wonder, enduring allure, and serene beauty. Morcott. The charming village of Morcott, which is located farther south, is a frequent contender for most beautiful lists. With its arcaded alleys and Mediterranean vibe, this fishing community on the beaches of Lake Lugano increasingly draws visitors. After making your way up to the church of Santa Maria del Sasso, you'll be rewarded with breathtaking views of the lake that transport you to a northern Italian rather than a northern European setting. We have traversed a nation that satisfies wonder at every turn, from the rumbling Rine Falls to the pristine Verzasca. Switzerland's true charm comes from the unexpected things it has to offer. Secret lakes tucked away in mountain nooks, ancient towns perched precariously on sheer cliff faces, and tales passed down through the years. We get to see this scenery at its most breathtaking right now, but the Alps will continue to carve out new valleys and move old stones. One of the most remarkable medieval defense complexes in Europe, the Bellenzona castles, may be found in the Italian-speaking canton of Ticino. The Alpine passes are protected by three enormous fortifications: Montebello, Castelgrande, and Sasso Corbaro, which serve as old sentinels. These fortresses served as the medieval boundary guards of Switzerland. They governed important commerce routes between northern and southern Europe when they were constructed between the 13th and 15th centuries. Tolls were required of anybody wishing to transport goods across the Alps using this route. The valley floor is dominated by Castelgrande, while Montebello is situated higher on the hillside, and Sasso Corbaro is above the heights. A masterpiece of medieval engineering, their combined efforts resulted in an impregnable defensive system in which each castle covered the weaknesses of its neighbor. Tucked up between lofty mountain walls, not far from Zurich, is Lake Klöntal, a secret that the Swiss people cherish with a quiet dignity. Discovered solely through insider advice, this alpine jewel is a secret treasure of Switzerland that most vacation plans fail to mention. The lake's crystalline waters, which alternate between teal and turquoise, and the sharp peaks that rise nearly vertically from the beach, are enough to halt anybody in their tracks the moment they lay eyes on it. In this idyllic setting, where the mountains stand guard and the passage of time seems to stand still, one can't help but feel both alone and complete. As dawn breaks, a haze forms on the water's surface, giving the scenery a magical, otherworldly quality. There are no gift vendors or tour buses here. Instead, you'll hear nothing except the sound of water lapping against stone, the call of an alpine swift from time to time, and the faraway clink of cowbells from summer meadows. Lake Klöntal was created by a landslide in the distant past, and a modest dam was later built to regulate its level. The natural and the man-made coexist in harmony in what appears to be wilderness. Tourists frequently lose track of time as they lounge on the shore, taking in the ever-changing vistas of the mountains and the sensation of having found something mysterious. What the Swiss don't say is that they are familiar with this area. Mount Pilatus and Lake Lucern. Mount Pilatus, shrouded in myth, rises just outside of Lucern. There are competing theories as to its origin. Some think it comes from the Latin pilatus, meaning cloud-capped, while others think it originates from the spirit of Pontius Pilate, who is said to haunt the mountain lakes. Often shrouded in a whirlwind of mist, this enigmatic summit rises 2,128 meters above sea level, and both tales match. The ascent showcases the Swiss inventiveness. The world's steepest cogwheel railway clings to the mountainside at slopes as high as 48%. Originally constructed in 1889, these crimson carriages wind their way through alpine flower meadows, spruce and pine woods, and finally, rocky terrain well above the tree line. Looking down from the peak, Lake Lucern stretches out like a blue jigsaw puzzle. The Lake of the Four Forest Cantons is the local name for this body of water. Glaciers sculpted its peculiar morphology, which includes fjord-like arms that extend into concealed valleys. Depending on the conditions, the water might have a deep blue, teal, or silvery hue. At the lake level, boats pass between soft coasts and steep cliffs. Little towns cling to thin strips of land that separate the water from the rock. Central Switzerland is defined by the interplay of mountain peaks and pristine lakes. Rine Falls. Just 3 kilometers south of Schaffhausen and close to the German border, at the roaring edge of Europe's tallest waterfall, the Rine Falls, is where the adventure into hidden Switzerland starts, a place where few tourists linger. Many people hurry by this natural beauty without stopping to appreciate its strength. Despite its location at the intersection of the Schaffhausen and Zurich cantons, a continual roar that has reverberated through this valley since the last ice age, some 15,000 years ago, is produced here by the steady descent of more than 23,000 cubic feet of water each second. The locals refer to it as Rheinfall, although the sheer force that is displayed cannot be adequately described by a single word. From the turbulent depths below, ethereal mist rises, casting a myriad of small rainbows in the sunshine. There is no pretense here, This is the wild, unspoiled, primordial, and magnetic Switzerland you see in travel brochures. After taking a few pictures from the observation decks, most tourists depart. But if you linger longer, if you go to the medieval Schloss Laufen, which is on a little island near the falls, you can feel the earth shake under your feet. Those who are just interested in the world-famous alpine peaks in the south of the country miss out on the powerful and constant rhythm that runs through the center of Switzerland. Lungerer See, Lake Lungren. As we head southwest from Lake Lucern, we'll soon enter a valley that seems to have been forgotten by the passage of time. Lake Lungren. This mountaintop town with an otherworldly blue lake isn't on most Swiss vacation packages, but that's only part of its charm. Prior to 1836, when residents carved a passageway through the organic barrier, the lake leveled out 36 meters lower. Instead of the fresh farmland they had hoped for, they found a radiant blue-green gem encircled by towering mountains. The hue is caused by minerals from glaciers that are floating in the water and absorb sunlight, reflecting it in a rainbow of tones. Chalets made of wood line the hillsides, their dark wood stained by decades of mountain winters. Many of these houses have classic, inherited features like carved balcony railings and window boxes. Beyond them, the mountains stretch skyward in a dramatic fashion, forming a natural amphitheater that cradles this little town. Morning fog slowly rises. Farmers work tiny plots, ascending the lower slopes, and hiking tracks fade into the trees above, leading to vistas known only to locals. The cadence here is slower than in tourist areas. Lungren provides something unique in contemporary Switzerland, a location that exists for its own sake, apart from tourism, because it lacks well-known landmarks that bring in large numbers of people. Zurich. We continue downstream on the Rhine to Zurich, a city whose heartbeats are both old and modern. Despite its status as a cultural and financial mecca, most visitors to Switzerland's biggest city focus solely on the glittering business area and high-end retail. The Old Town, or Altstadt as it is known locally, is 1,000 years old and hides secrets behind its glossy facade. Rising above the cityscape like sentinels guarding the city since the 12th century, the twin towers of the Grossmünster stand tall inside this historic neighborhood. As they stand out against the alpine backdrop, their unique summits look like crowns. According to urban legend, the ancient church was erected on this very place by Charlemagne himself, led by a vision. It is unclear if this is fact or fiction. As you stand in its vaulted hall, you can almost feel the weight of all the people who have come before you, seeking refuge in these stones. As the sun sets, our eyes are captivated by the serene shores of Lake Zurich. Locals know that when the sun goes down, the sea becomes a mirror of fire, and the faraway Alps stand out as shadows against the painted sky, while visitors congregate around the city center. They stick to the eastern coast. You start to get a sense of the real Swiss here, molded by the softness of water and the firmness of stone, as you stand between the mountains and the lake. Burn through its historic lanes and secret corners, Switzerland's capital tells stories without demanding attention. The city started life as a military garrison in 1191, built on a peninsula formed by the bending Aare River. There are stones that have seen 8 centuries of Swiss existence as we walk through its streets, and the weight of that history is palpable. Strolls around lanes lined with red-tiled limestone structures date back to the 12th century. The 6 kilometers of covered arcades make it what the locals refer to as Europe's longest retail area, shielded from the elements. With Switzerland's highest church tower, Bern Cathedral, Berner Münster, which began construction in 1421 but was not completed until 1893, dominates the skyline. The 100-meter tower stands as a symbol of the capital of Switzerland's quiet and patient nature. The main entrance features a detailed depiction of the Last Judgment, with 294 carved figures illustrating the ascension of saints to heaven and the descent of sinners to hell. The Swiss Parliament, located at the Federal Palace, Bundeshaus, is visible across town. The National Council and the Council of States are housed within its central dome, which unites the 2 wings. Stained glass within showcases the Swiss coat of arms, while a mosaic underneath it depicts 4 ladies, one for each of Switzerland's 4 official languages. As a humble but significant emblem of Swiss democracy, the plaza is open to the public and serves as a meeting place for the government and the people. Oberhoofen Castle and Blausee. Standing proudly on its toes in Lake Thun, Oberhoofen Castle is one of the region's gems. Throughout its various reconstructions, this enchanting building, which dates back to the 13th century, has managed to preserve a blend of architectural forms. It's easy to see why individuals made this area their permanent home from the vantage point of the 5-story tower, which provides breathtaking vistas. Just a short distance away is Blausee, sometimes known as Blue Lake, a picturesque little woodland lake that seems straight out of a fairy tale. The water has a strange, shimmering blue color that varies between turquoise and cobalt. According to folklore, it was created by a bereaved young woman's tears, although modern scientific evidence suggests that a landslide created the natural spring basin. In any case, the tiny jewel is encircled by a forest, which offers the ideal tranquility. Interlockan and Harder Kulm. Between Lakes describes the Bernese Oberland town of Interlockan, which is located between the 2 largest lakes in the region, Thun and Brienne. Being strategically located for more than 3 centuries, it has served as a gateway to the surrounding area. As they soar into the skies, paragliders scatter bright confetti over the town. From this vantage point, one can appreciate the iconic features of Interlockan, such as the picturesque location between 2 blue lakes and the towering white pyramid of the Jungfrau in the distance. Harder Kulm, the town's peak, stands just above Interlockan. An observation deck stretches over the cliff edge at the top of the 731-meter funicular railway ascent. From this vantage point, you can view both lakes at once, and the town appears to be a model village. Although relatively low at 1,322 meters by Swiss standards, the locals refer to this area as the top of Interlockan. The town's ideal location at a natural crossroads more than compensates for its lack of height. Lauterbrunnen Valley. A breathtaking valley, Lauterbrunnen is supposedly the setting for J.R.R. Tolkien's Rivendell, located deeper in the Bernese Oberland. The 72 cascading waterfalls, which are named after the steep cliffs that rise 300 meters on either side, give the place its many fountains image. Staubbach Falls, which plunges 297 meters in a single leap, is the highest and most famous of all. Winds off the coast collect precipitation and condense it into a wispy mist that dances across the cliffs. In the picturesque alpine communities that dot the cliffs and valley floor of the Lauterbrunnen Valley, beyond the waterfalls, you may find mountain farms that make cheese by hand. From milk that comes from cows that graze in flower-filled meadows. This valley is a great example of how traditional Swiss alpine living has remained mostly unchanged throughout the years. Located to the south of Bern is the breathtaking Bernese Oberland, home to some of the most breathtaking mountain landscapes in all of Switzerland. Here, the skyline is known all over the globe, thanks to the three prominent peaks, Ebergletscher, Eiger, Mönch, and Jungfrau. Because of the unique combination of glaciers, waterfalls, and meadows, I've always considered it Switzerland's geographical masterpiece. The openness of the Oberland's valleys is what sets it apart from other alpine areas. Other locations are hidden behind steep passes, while the mountains of the Oberland welcome tourists with open arms. In a manner that few other countries have accomplished, the Swiss have created a method to access nature's most magnificent displays without compromising their natural splendor, all thanks to their network of trains and cable cars. The Lucern area, where mountains and lakes converge, is in the very center of Switzerland, and we're about to enter it. The heart of the region is Lucern City, a unique blend of medieval architecture and breathtaking scenery. Narrow alleys in the Old Town typically reveal more tales than broad boulevards, and the town's genuine charm draws us in. The city's painted facades have been there since the 1200s, and when you walk along these walks, you'll see them reflected in the River Reuss and in the sunshine. In this setting, surrounded by ancient walls, Swiss daily life takes place. As the oldest wooden-covered bridge in Europe that is still in use today, the Chapel Bridge, Kapellbrücke, gracefully traverses the lake. It was completed in 1333. As you make your way over, keep an eye out for the triangle paintings nestled into the beams above. Despite a devastating fire in 1993, some of the paintings managed to survive, and now depict images from local mythology and history. As the sun rises or sets, the old town's true character becomes apparent as people seek out peaceful areas along the riverbank. The real rhythm of Lucern becomes apparent. Tourists come and go, but the community stays, with roots that go deep into history. Located 1,650 meters above sea level, the settlement of Murin appears to dangle precariously between the ground and the sky. Little more than 450 people call this automobile-free community perched precariously on a rock 800 meters above the valley-level home. The only way to get there is via cable car. In the stillness, you can make out the peculiar noises of people walking on wooden balconies, cowbells ringing out in the distance from neighboring meadows, and the faraway rumble of avalanches somewhere in the valley. From nearly any place in the town, the three peaks of Jungfrau, Montreux, and Eiger stand out, making them seem as near as if they were touching, even though they are really kilometers distant. In the winter, people here utilize sleds to pull things across the icy streets, signaling a distinct pace of life compared to the lowlands below. Imagine it as a genuine community where people live, work, and raise families, like a museum showcasing alpine life. Lake Brienne distinguishes out in a nation of postcard vistas with its amazing, almost surreal, turquoise blue. It isn't. The bizarre hue of this 9-kilometer stretch of water is really caused by microscopic glacier particles that float about in it. In certain places, the mountains plunge straight into the lake, forming ideal hidden coves. In others, they form steep cliffs. When it comes to resorts, Lake Thun is just next door, but Brienne has kept things wild. Located on the lake's northern coast, Giesbach Falls is a series of 14 cascades that culminate in a spectacular splash. Traveling aboard one of the historic paddle steamers on the waters shaped by long-gone glaciers is, in my opinion, the most picturesque way to take in Brienne. It's as if the past and present are playing out on the same vivid blue stage. Grindlewald First. Another mountain wonder, Grindlewald First is located northwest of Murin. Until you find out that first means ridge in the local dialect, the word itself is perplexing. At an elevation of 2,168 meters, this sunlit plateau is the Bernese Oberland's adventurous playground. A gondola transports guests to this alpine paradise from the town of Grindlewald. At the summit, though, you'll find what truly distinguishes First, the first cliff walk, a metal walkway hung over a precipitous drop that's welded into the rock face. A 45-meter-long observation deck stands at its terminus. Nobody enjoys looking down. However, First's true allure lies in the way it incorporates both natural elements and considerate human touches. In addition to the thrilling sports, the mountains are adorned with alpine flowers throughout summer, and marmots communicate with each other by whistling when hikers go by. Within easy walking distance, you'll find Lake Bakalpsee, which perfectly reflects the surrounding peaks. Gruier. We depart from the majestic Alps, and go west to Fribourg Canton and the little town of Gruier, straight out of a fairy tale. Perched on a hilltop, this medieval jewel is topped by a castle that has guarded the area since 1270. The town's name, Gruier, really derives from the word Gruier, which means crane. The town's coat of arms features a crane. With its flower boxes and shuttered storefronts, the cobblestone main street transports one to a bygone era. The fairy tale-like Gruier Castle towers over the little town. In 1554, the Counts of Gruier, talk about living above your means, went dramatically bankrupt after centuries of power from this location. Located in the valley floor is the man-made Lake of Gruier, formed in 1948 by the Rossens Dam. As a consequence, you have a beautiful body of water bordered by forested slopes and hills. Ile Dogo, a small island with the remains of a church from the 13th century, is the lake's unique feature. It rises and falls in relation to the lake's level, making it look like a medieval Swiss Atlantis. Crossing the open ground to reach the island is possible when the lake level is low. A hauntingly lyrical reminder of how certain locations only reveal themselves when the conditions are perfect, the crumbling church rests serenely amidst worn gravestones. Brusio Spiral Viaduct. One of the most brilliant engineering feats in Switzerland is located close to the Italian border, the Brusio Spiral Viaduct. Trains move in loops under this curving bridge, and that's not an accident. Constructed in 1908 as a section of the Brienne Railway, this viaduct spans 110 meters and winds its way around 360 degrees, allowing trains to descend safely from high points. Essentially, it's a train version of a roller coaster, but with far more style and utility. It is a magical experience to see the Crimson Bernina Express slither around this curve. The engine vanishes beneath the bridge, while the rear vehicles continue to cross over the top. Witnessing the elegant resolution of a mountain problem by engineering is really fulfilling. Zermatt and the Matterhorn. Situated at the heart of the Valais Alps, the hamlet of Zermatt is instantly associated with the Matterhorn, a peak that commands global recognition. Electric cars and horse-drawn carriages are the only modes of transportation in Zermatt, which has been car-free since 1961. Here, the air is thin and crisp, and there's an electric charge that seems to emanate from the mountains. The Matterhorn, a gigantic pyramid-shaped mountain, is 4,478 meters high. Despite being far from Switzerland's highest point, this mountain has become the most photographed in the world due to its beautiful triangular contour. Experts in the area will tell you that it's actually a four-sided pyramid, with each side facing the direction of the compass. The mysterious transformation of the mountain from gloomy and foreboding at dawn to golden and radiant at dusk is what makes this scene so hypnotic. At an altitude of 3,089 meters, the Gornergrat Railway provides what are often believed to be the finest views of the Matterhorn from Zermatt. This route has been made by this cogwheel train since 1898. and the engineering is still impressive. There are 29 peaks higher than 4,000 meters in the area around the mountain. Thanks to the viewing platform's gradual rotation, you may enjoy a breathtaking 360-degree panorama without leaving your seat. St. Moritz, located high in the Engadin Valley, is largely responsible for popularizing the concept of high-end mountain tourism. The 1860s saw the beginning of this resort's popularity among the famous and rich, as it sits 1,856 meters above sea level. Even in the dead of winter, 4 English visitors would like it, according to Johannes Badrut's wager. The concept of winter tourism was developed when they stayed all season. Why is St. Moritz unique? Considering that it is snowed in half the year, the 322 sunny days it experiences are rather exceptional. 2 Winter Olympics have been held on the slopes that the Corviglia cable car takes you to. From that vantage point, one can see all the way across the upper Engadin Valley, a magical place of frozen lakes, snow-capped mountains, and enchanted forests. The older settlement of Dorf is on a terrace on a hilltop above St. Moritz, while the more modern spa town of Bad is located below the lake. Both exude a sense of seclusion and possess that quintessential Swiss blend of subtle grace and breathtaking natural beauty. Of course, it's pricey, but that's how some restaurants get their stellar reviews. You may reach out and touch the sky in Jungfraujoch in Switzerland. Known as the top of Europe, this railway station is the highest in Europe at an elevation of 3,454 meters above sea level. It took engineers 16 years to finish the route, which opened in 1912, and it passes through the Eiger and Munch Mountains on its way there, which is half the fun. Out of nowhere, white light streams in through the windows, and the Aletsch Glacier appears like a frozen freeway. This old 23-kilometer ice sheet has been descending the mountain at a snail's pace for thousands of years. The world's population could be supplied with 1 liter of water every day for 6 years from this massive glacier in Switzerland, just in case. As you go out onto the observation deck, you'll notice a change in the air. It's thinner, sharper, and somewhat metallic when you put it on your tongue. On days with good visibility, you may make out the Black Forest in Germany and the Italian Alps in the other direction. Your brain has a hard time processing the vastness of the panorama since it is so expansive. Montreux. We leave the medieval fortresses behind and make our way to Montreux, on the banks of Lake Geneva, where the mountains and music collide. The most renowned jazz festival in the world has been held in this lakeside city every July since 1967. Turning otherwise peaceful Swiss streets into an international stage. The Lavaux Vineyards are a series of terrace slopes that have been producing wine for more than 1,000 years. And they stretch along the hillsides above Montreux. They have justifiably been designated as a World Heritage Property by UNESCO. Like gigantic staircases, These stone-walled terraces rise from the lake, with varying degrees of exposure to sunlight depending on the level, direct sunshine, water reflection, and thermal energy stored in the walls. Chillon Castle, the most visited historic landmark in Switzerland, is located on the lake's eastern shore. Constructed on a tiny island and linked to the mainland by a narrow bridge, this stronghold has protected the Alpine passes for many years. The Prisoner of Chillon, a poem by Lord Byron, was inspired by a real-life man who was incarcerated for his support of the Reformation. Verzasca Valley. The Verzasca Valley is a completely separate Switzerland to the south of the Alpine Alps. This little-known jewel in Ticino is unlike any other place in Italy. As chestnut-forested mountains are clung to by stone communities, green rivers run through granite canyons. Over the course of many centuries of seclusion, the valley's own language and culture emerged. The Verzasca River is well known for its remarkably transparent water, which allows one to discern individual pebbles even at great depths. Some say the water is so holy it may cleanse one's sins, according to local folklore. Earth Pyramids of Usenia and Furka Pass. The Earth Pyramids of Usenia, among nature's most peculiar sculptures, become apparent as we return to the valley. Each of these strange rock structures, which like enormous stone mushrooms, has a boulder perched on it to prevent erosion. Next up is the Furka Pass, which has made appearances in James Bond films thanks to its spectacular vistas. Connecting the cantons of Uri and Valais, this mountain route reaches an impressive altitude of 2,429 meters and winds through spectacular landscapes. At moments, Switzerland seems to be bragging. And that wraps up our journey for today. If this view took your breath away, go ahead and hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe for more hidden gems from around the globe. We've only just begun. And there's so much more waiting to be explored. Got a dream destination in mind? Drop it in the comments. We just might fly there next. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and your heart open to adventure. This is Unreal Earth Travels, where the world is seen from above.